Hi, welcome guests, founders. Welcome to this session, Journey with 100X.VC. We've got two teams, two very dynamic teams from 100X portfolio. I'm going to welcome them. So I have Evelyn from My Ava,
Hi.
and we have, hi Evelyn, and we have Satvik and Akash from Vitra.AI.
Hi
Hi
guys.
Satvik, hi Akash, welcome to you
Hi.
guys. Well, good to see you guys. So, guess let me just give you a little bit of introduction, and I'll leave it to these guys to introduce themselves. Evelyn is part of our, class two portfolio. We had our pitch day in September, sometime just after COVID. So, very difficult times, which we faced in terms of the COVID situation, and then closed the class. And Evelyn was part of that class. So, very happy to see you again, Evelyn, after a while. And
Right.
just to introduce, Vitra team is part of our class three, the cohort the batch that just completed in January 21. And of course, Vitra guys, I don't know if most of you know, have been in an announcement recently. They were able to successfully close a VC round. And I'll let Satvik and Akash talk more about it, and I won't steal the thunder from them. So, yeah, coming back to Evelyn. Evelyn, why don't you introduce yourself and My Ava, and what is it that you do, and give us a little bit of introduction.
Right, sure. Thanks, Yagnesh. So, hey everyone, good evening to all of you. So, I'm Evelyn. I'm the founder and CEO of My Ava. My Ava is basically a women's health and wellness platform, something that has been, at the absolute, out of focus sort of a segment in India specifically. So, what we're concentrating on is chronic conditions that affect women, conditions like PCOS, thyroid, etc., that affect women. We're looking at 1 in every 5 women being affected by these conditions. So our intention is to approach this with an integrated medicine sort of an approach where we bring together experts like gynecologists, nutritionists, fitness experts, all together on one singular platform for these women to kind of interact with and kind of reverse this condition or to the least manage it in a much better way. So yeah, that's what we do. And thank you so much for having me today, Yagnesh. Here the experience with 100x has been phenomenal. I'm sure we'll speak more about it in the talk to come. And over to you guys at Vitra.
Thank you. Thank you, Satvik and Akash. Please.
Yeah. Hi all of you. Thank you so much, Yagnesh, for giving us an opportunity to have a live conversation with you. So when it comes to Vitra.AI, you can translate videos to 50 plus languages using the AI technology that we have built with just one click. So we support more than 8 Indian languages and over 45 plus foreign languages. So one of the biggest problems that we see in education, media, and other places, including social media, for example, is everyone creates content, and the biggest problem is the content reach. That's because language is the biggest barrier for the reach. So we help companies, influencers, enterprises go global with just one click using Vitra.ai. And video is the most effective format today. And video translation is one of our primary product features that Vitra.ai offers.
Well, brilliant.
Hello guys.
Yes, Akash, please.
Hi, this is Akash and this is my co-founder Satvik. So just giving a brief introduction about ourselves. We have known each other from almost 12, 13 plus years from today. So we have been college mates and we went to engineering the same college and we did it in MS Ramaya Institute of Technology in Bangalore. So yeah.
It's been a great journey so far. I mean, we've built a lot of apps and products in the past, and obviously we're building our dream right now. So that's been our journey.
Well, wonderful, guys. Thanks for that little bit of introduction, and we'll jump right on to the specific questions that I have for you initially before we start getting questions from the audience. So huge use case, Vitra guys. In your case, I mean, your product can be really useful to so many enterprises, and so tell us a little bit about your journey with 100X. I mean, how did you come across 100X? How did you find us, or did we find you? What was the case in your case? Just help us a little bit about that.
So we were a part of an accelerator called BAC, and as a part of the demo day, obviously, we got introduced to 100X, and 100X felt, that something what we were doing in the AI space was interesting. So obviously, we were in talks with a couple of angel networks, and I remember, calling Yagnesh a lot of times, and trying to figure out what is the right thing for us. And I, instead of me making the decision, I let Yagnesh make the decision for us. Actually, because honestly, the whole process of the discovery and closing the whole process with 100X was less than a week for us actually. So I just started a conversation with 100X, just a couple of calls, and Yagnesh said, Satvik, let's get started, and that's how it went. And obviously, when we evaluated a lot of factors, based on a lot of factors, and some mentorship that we got, even in that brief period from Yagnesh and Shashank, if I remember, we were sure that the step that we were taking, the first step, right, was the best. So that was the journey, and obviously that is how we discovered each other. And obviously, we're very delighted, and we're so happy that we made this decision.
So I still remember. I think it's just the two calls. Like first one with Shashank and then and then all of you, like five folks, like coming in on a call, and that was it. Like just 2 hours of call, and it's like next week we are in. So absolutely. It was
that's smooth.
That's smooth.
Yeah. Well, you were some of the lucky ones. We had almost 1,500 odd applications, and the same I think was the number that I remember in class 2 as well.
Yeah.
And it was a painstaking effort for us to shortlist 10, 12 guys out of that. So we really enjoyed the interaction with you, I remember. And with you, I think there wasn't too much of discussion. We were convinced on the market opportunity, and we knew you were the right founders to back. So yeah, I mean, I do remember it was, the whole point was to kind of close with fast, and then work on the diligence part as we go along. So I remember that. Evelyn, how was it with you at MyAva? How did you find us? Who did you talk to initially, and how were the interactions till you came on board?
Right. I think, Yagnesh, for me, the starting point was, of course, we started in the, the eye of the storm. We started right off when the pandemic had hit, and, everything, we kind of had the lockdown that happened and things like that. But for me personally, I think I must be the most biggest stalker of Sanjay Mehta. So I think I was following him for quite some time, and looking at the kind of investment he does, and kind of researching a lot, as you should be doing with any investor that you want to kind of approach. So I kind of got to know about 100X, and I just gave it a shot. I said, okay, wouldn't hurt shooting out an email, and I did kind of read that 100X does respond back to everyone who applies. So I said, okay, let me just give it a shot. If not anything, I'll just get some feedback on the way I'm approaching the market, right? So, but to my surprise, I kind of heard back from Shashank at 100X, and like Satvik and Akash said, it was pretty quick. I think it took about 7 to 10 days. And when I say quick, it doesn't mean that we're kind of hastily making a decision. There were the conversations that happened in those 7 to 10 days were quite expedited, in the sense that those 7 to 10 days you could really feel the pressure of being a founder, because you were asked for projections, you were asked to kind of give justifications, come back with workings again if you required, right? So the speed of the conversations, I think, were really quick, and that's how I kind of got through, and class 2 was like fantastic. Even the other kind of founders who were selected in class 2 were kind of fantastic, and it was an amazing journey so far.
Yeah, thanks, Evelyn. I think I do remember it was testing times even for us, and I'm sure it was for a lot of founders who have just kind of come out of COVID, very uncertain times. We didn't know which founders will be back, but we've gone on with our journey, kept on evaluating as many startups as we can. So the process at our end works pretty much parallel. While we discuss other things, we want to move on the transaction as well. And then that brings me to this question about the iSafe, Evelyn. So what was your impression about when we discussed that, look, this is an iSafe instrument. I'm sure you may not have heard about that before 100X really presented it to you. So
Right.
what was that? What were your feelings? What were those apprehensions? And were you able to
Right.
understand it? How soon?
Yeah.
So get us a sense
Yeah.
of that experience, please.
Sure. I think safe notes is something that I was well aware of, and I think everybody is kind of aware of safe notes, right? But the first time seeing somebody in India kind of do that, and uh, looking at it being on the platform itself, like your complete investment agreement is on the platform. It's an open source document. Anybody can download and view it. Set the tone for the entire relationship or the deal, which was being transparent, right? So there were no hidden kind of clause or anything. Everything was out there, and more importantly, it was a very, very simple document that I didn't have to go out there and worry about hiring a lawyer or anybody to kind of look at it and skim through it. It is something that a founder can understand and doesn't have to have a understanding of the huge terms or anything that kind of encompasses when you go in for these investment agreements. So the simplicity and the transparency of it was fantastic, and it makes things more easier and transparent, where what's in it for you, what's in it for the investor, and everything is kind of laid out very clearly. What it also does is extensive documents take too much time to have a lot of back and forth between the founders and the investors also. So you save on time there also. So not only the decision making is faster, but also the documentation, you're not drowned into documentation, and the deal kind of doesn't get delayed, which it does in most times, right, because of back and forth and documentation. So that is not there, which is fantastic for the stage at which 100X invests, because at that time you need to make these decisions pretty quickly, so that you can get on to concentrating on business and building the product, and kind of actually building the whole company. So I think that is something that is fantastic, and it is in favor of the founder and the investor as well.
Well, thanks for your inputs, and I'll quickly jump on to Satvik and Akash for their respective experiences on that. Anything more to add, Satvik and Akash, please?
Actually, very pretty much the same, right? I mean, I think Evelyn covered everything. I mean, the first thing, right? I mean, now that we went through a VC phase, we can compare the difference of how fast things were, and absolutely, I mean, every point that Evelyn said was right. I mean, we didn't need a lawyer because it was very simple words. It's like a short story that you had to read, and if that is something which you can relate to, you just had to sign it and send it back. I think we read it, both of us read it, and we sent it back in the same day with just a couple of hours of difference, because we didn't feel that anything was cryptic or anything. Right? I mean, we just sent it the same day, and we felt it was all fine. There's nothing, nothing very different there. So pretty much, I mean, agree with Evelyn again on the open source part and being available
Yeah,
to the
we've tried
public.
to kind of keep it simple.
Absolutely, it's amazing.
Even the language that is used, like even though we know English, we can
No, thanks,
understand here.
thanks for that.
Yeah. But when you use like SHE or something, even we know English, but we feel okay, we are not understanding anything. So that's the emotion that we get. But
Right.
it was very simple and
Nice.
easy to understand what was there.
No, great. I think that's good to know. And well, we do have founder. I mean, both of you had pleasant experiences, but yes, there are times where founders do want to understand the document. So generally, I get on a call, and I think a single call kind of does the whole closure, because we've kept it like a 5-page document only. So there can't be too much in 5 pages that you don't understand. So we've tried to kept that simple. But yeah, moving on to the next steps, Satvik. I mean, and then later on, Evelyn can add. How was your experiences post, onboarding 100X and towards the pitch day? How was your journey? Uh, all the master classes and the sessions with 100X team. share a little bit about that. What did you learn? What kind of sessions were there? So do you want to kind of share something on that?
Got it. So, first of all, the first two sessions that we had right after we joined 100X was by Sanjay and Ninad, right? Those two sessions are something which we will never forget because some of the pointers that we got there were, their lifetime learnings and stuff. That was fantastic. And I still remember the quote that Ninad always says, right? It just takes 2 seconds to change the tires of a F1 car, right? What takes you so long to reply or respond or take action, right? So these are some of the, phenomenal. The first day itself, our mind was blown. We were like just talking the whole day about that first 1 hour of our day, right? That was the brilliance that we got on the first day. But obviously, getting mentored by over 100 industry leaders and startup founders, or even the enterprise leaders, right? It was phenomenal. Be it Mr. Jamal sir or Mitesh, or obviously Yagnesh yourself, with some of the pointers that you gave when it comes to how do you read a situation, how do you form your next round, how do you structure it, and a lot of these things throughout the whole sessions. And sessions on business modeling, strategy, how do you manage your finance. All of these were incredible, and these notes was like a 100-page book that I completed. I just wrote them down, and honestly, if you just follow that, it's like 20 to 30 years of experience of 100 people put together. It's like your Bible, actually, right? That was the best part about the master classes. And honestly, I am not aware of any other platform which has such a high quality mentorship in such a short period of time, like 30-40 days kind of a timeline. And I remember Yagnesh telling us, once the masterclass starts, you won't have time to do anything. We thought, okay, masterclasses are, some online sessions, but we realized only after getting into those sessions, and because there is so much of information to digest, such valuable information to note down and, implement it as a part of your own company. And honestly speaking, a lot of these pointers and mentorship that 100X as well as the other mentors gave us helped us even pivot our product in the right direction and target the right market, target the right kind of, I would say, customers, actually. So that was phenomenal. That whole journey, I would say, hectic but phenomenal. Because this is something which I'm not sure if a lot of platforms in the world, give it to startup founders, especially in our.
Thanks a lot, Satvik. Yeah, no, I think brilliant. The word that you use in terms of the 100-page book and the Bible, I think that's good notes, and I'm sure these are going to help you out throughout your journey. But Evelyn, anything more to add on what Vitra team just shared with us?
No, I think that was very well put. I think for me personally, I did not know that there were going to be masterclasses, so I was pleasantly surprised after the funding happened.
Shashank never told you about the masterclasses. That's bad.
Yes, absolutely. So two things. I think I was surprised and pleasantly surprised that we had masterclasses. Second, I think Satvik very subtly put in there that it was hectic. So it is going to be absolutely hectic. But I think keeping your eyes and ears open during those probably 1 or 2 weeks of masterclasses that you have can be so filled with so much of knowledge, people with, I think, a cumulative of more than 150 years of experience, right? If you put together everyone's experience out there. And it is the best of the best. Like we had, I think I personally enjoyed Amarjeet's masterclass a lot, who's the head of Spotify India. Very interactive sessions, and it is a couple of hours in a day, right? Most of your day is kind of consumed in masterclasses, but the way each of these personalities also held the masterclass, which has made it interactive, did feel very, very kind of you felt energetic at the end of the day instead of feeling very kind of sluggish. You were thinking about how can I implement what this person said at this masterclass, right? How is this going to help me? So it kind of was very intellectually stimulating. And for us personally, we were in the midst of building our product at that point in time, right? So which was excellent for us. We could take those critical decisions of, should we be doing this or not, which it would have been probably costly mistakes for us, right? But with somebody coming in with so much of experience and giving you that direction, I think that was extremely helpful. So I think, yeah, wonderful sessions with the best of the best, who probably wouldn't be able to access directly also, right? So getting an hour with them was fantastic.
Thanks. Thank you, Evelyn, for sharing those inputs. And I'm going to grab this opportunity to kind of go back to the Vitra team. Tell us, Vitra team, Satvik and Akash, on your experience post pitch day. How was it? Which all angels did you speak to? How many invites came to you? I know it's a very, very, very interesting story at your end. So I want you to share it with all the viewers here, the audience here, on what happened. How did you meet your investors, and how did it go about post that? Can you just share us that?
Absolutely. Even before the one thing I want to say is pitch day was the most amazing thing ever. But obviously, even before the pitch day, right, we had, I would say, 3 to 4 days of VC mentorship. Okay, some of the VCs, including Sequoia, Inflexor, and a lot of them actually came and mentored us, and first of all looked at our product and gave us suggestions as to what is right, what is wrong, and stuff. And then came the pitch day, and obviously they even helped us give the right pitch, including Harshal and Brendan. Thanks to them, 2AM right? So they gave us a lot of mentorship even before the pitch day, so that the pitch day was actually perfect, right? Pitch perfect. So that is how the pitch day went. And after the pitch day, I forgot to structure my calendar well, and I just put a calendar link. My calendar was booked for the next 45 days, 10 hours a day, with all angels and VCs lined up. And on the exact same day, the first day after the pitch, and I'm just seeing my notifications. I had 400 bookings, 300 bookings from a lot of people, even from the same network maybe. So that was crazy. And the best part is today I had 2 investor calls, right? And they said, we saw your 100x video, and we just wanted to talk to you. So that's the impact that we had. It was phenomenal. Though obviously I used to take a lot of cough syrup and stuff for a month, but honestly, that kind of experience, and obviously in this 45 days, 50 days that I interacted with a lot of VCs and angels, we got to learn a lot, and obviously not just when it comes to the pitch and stuff, but even when it comes to the product and the way they perceive the product. And these are some of the top VCs and angels of India and the world, actually, right? So a lot of learnings even after the pitch day, and obviously we had a lot of commitment towards our round from all of them, actually a bunch of them. So we closed our round with Inflexor VC, who are obviously a deep tech investor, and it was amazing, working with them. And it was very fast closing our round with Inflexor VC, and the announcement was just done, I think, a week back. But again, Inflexor team was very fast in helping us out, solve a lot of things on the compliance and stuff, and we closed our round successfully with Inflexor VC and a bunch of angels.
Yeah, well, that was an interesting story, and one of the unique ones, by the way, in all our portfolio companies. So we just kind of announced our deep tech partnership with Inflexor, and here they were shortlisting you guys. So I don't kind of happens at such a coincidence. I mean, it just happened so well. I mean, we were just talking with them, and then they wanted to look at all the startups, and then they zeroed on you guys, and I mean, good, it happened, and so I'm so happy. And again, hearty congratulations on the deal. I hope you go miles, and way to go, guys. So thankfully, I this is all turned out pretty well, and a lot of hard work I know you guys have put in terms of closing the deal. And so just because a lot of founders are watching this, so any tips from you guys to just make sure, how do you prepare yourself for the VC round? What all things can you keep ready so that the round can get closed faster at your end, diligence? Can you just share a couple of tips to the founders?
Absolutely. Couple of things what I would suggest is, I mean, as founders, we tend to focus on two things primarily. One is the product. The other one is how do we sell the product, and that is when we get lost in these two things. So that a lot of things on the compliance, legal, gets under the hood. But especially in cases of closing a round, I mean, with a VC, right? The due diligence and other things are very pretty much on a detailed scale, right? So one thing what we would suggest, obviously both of us, he took care of all the compliance stuff, I took care of all the legal stuff, being founders. But one thing what I would suggest all of you is uh, obviously talk to Yagnesh a lot and figure out, I mean, he gives a lot of suggestions as to how to structure your company in the first place and stuff. But otherwise, please try to work with a CA. Obviously, talk to 100X and they would help you with an ideal CA, and they would help you with a lot of things. So getting yourself prepared with a lot of these compliances, including your EPF or your professional tax, all of these other things, GST, for example, would help you a lot, once you go for a VC due diligence. Otherwise, if situation turns out such that once the due diligence list is out, you'll have to go and get the GST signing up done. I mean, those things get delayed like a week or two, and your whole due diligence gets delayed. So we would recommend you to have a checklist, get a checklist from Yagnesh if that is the ideal thing, so that get these things ready even before your VC pitch day. So that things will be super fast, and you can close your rounds faster. So that is something which I would suggest.
So also there are a lot of compliances that as a tech founders we miss out on.
Absolutely.
Like professional tax. We might think that it's very small, and even like our ignorance also comes into place. Like we are doing it for the first time and we are not aware of it.
Exactly.
So I would suggest spend some amount of quality of time understanding how Indian company runs. Like
Exactly.
What are the things that you need to do for 30 days, 60 days. And if you onboard certain employees, what are the things that you have to do, and what are the policies that company has to place? So those are the small things, but just concentrating on the technical or whatever the product that we are building. So we might miss out on few things. But I would suggest dedicate a certain amount of time and take it as a serious thing and do it. Is the suggestion that I would like.
Thanks a lot. I'm just reading a few questions and just wanted to pose some of them to you. So anyone can take this. And somebody's asking, how do you go about after the pitch day? What kind of steps do you take care to ensure you don't lose out on the initial momentum traction? So, any tips on that? Evelyn, do you want to kind of share your best practices? What were you doing when you're talking to angels, follow-ups? How should you do it in terms of email responses, etc.? Anything useful, Evelyn, would help.
Yeah. So I think for me personally, I think shared fantastically well by one of the class 1 founders as well. From Nourish, right? So he kind of suggested that we definitely use HubSpot, and that immensely helped because it kind of kept work very, organized, and we were able to kind of go back to notes and look at, what kind of conversations we've had with different people. So that really helped. So you can directly link your Gmail to your HubSpot and ensure that, all your investors are getting an updated deck first thing. So there is a deck that you upload in HubSpot, so that every time an updated deck is sent to an investor, because you might have continued conversations over a month or two, and you might want to keep putting in new updates, because as a startup you're having updates to give probably every week, right? So some new things kind of happening every week. So you always want to keep your deck updated with the latest developments, and any kind of different pivots that you've done, you want to always keep that updated. So that really helped, linking it with HubSpot, which also gives you details of which investor has looked at your deck and how much time have they spent on your deck, right? So that was very insightful to understand how much of interest and investment is the investor, so to say, putting in into your business, and how much of it just they're showing, so that when you have that conversation with them, you have that data to back you up, saying that, hey, this is an investor who really showed interest, and this is how I can conduct a conversation. So I think, yeah, regular follow-ups with them is something that really helps. So in terms of tools, I would really recommend using HubSpot, because I think at
No,
a
that's
time,
very well put. I think.
right. So I think to add that,
Sorry.
why you need a tool to kind of manage it, right? Because there is this avalanche of investors that will come your way once the demo day is done, right? So you would want something to be organized, because if we're not, honestly, if I was not suggested to use HubSpot, we would go really crazy without a tool, to kind of manage things well. So I think you're looking at every day having like 10, 12 meetings. Like Satvik said, you're going to need a lot of cough syrup through the time, because we were on meetings till say 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the night. I've had investor calls at 10:30 in the night, right? So I think with that much amount of information, it's difficult to understand and kind of recollect what kind of conversation you've had with each one. So keeping it documented, I think, really helps.
No, thanks a lot, Evelyn. That was very, very useful, and thanks for reminding us. I think Kinner Nourish has done it very useful, very effectively, and the hotspot thing really works. Whoever has done it has found immense value. So yes, founders, I think that's one very good suggestion for you guys to, regardless of where you are in your journey, whichever investor interaction happens, try to keep a track of it, because investors always remember what they want from the founders, and it has to be vice versa, right? Founders also need to remember what investor has spoken last time, and he will refer to his notes back, and for going to find out whether you've really implemented that or not implemented, or what have you done with that discussion that you had last time. So it really helps in terms of your investor interactions. You're also, your credibility goes up immensely if you really follow up with your investors, give them regular updates, even if they're not invested in you, still sending out updates every month. I think that's what keeps investor relations on and warm and going. And you never know when that guy can turn around and say, "Look, fine, let's talk the deal and let's invest." I think that pretty much happens at any point of your time in your fundraise. So a lot of founders sometimes do face this fatigue, or the whole scenario where they've interacted a lot and maybe nothing has happened, but that is no reason for them to interact less with investors, because you might reach a particular milestone at which the investor will get interested. So yes, I think that's a very valid point. So we have like just a couple of minutes, guys. So any advice to founders in terms of product? I mean, how do you think about pivoting your products? Evelyn, I'll start with you, and then something on your journey that you learned, which investors contributed, or with your own peer founders that you were with in the class 2 or class 3 also. Have you
Right.
been pivoting? I mean, what's your lesson? I mean, can you just help with a few tips with founders so that we get some useful to do action for them?
Right. I think when you're at a very early stage, you yourself are trying to understand the market and which way users are going in terms of liking your product, right? What is it of your product that users are liking? So I think being able to kind of mold in into what works for the user, kind of works really well when you're talking about very, very young products, right? So for us specifically, that has proven to be, very helpful in terms of able to mold and change and pivot and kind of try to understand what every user is kind of liking. And I would like to say that every conversation that I've had with an investor has been very helpful in kind of understanding certain things, because these investors do come from an experience of talking to other companies and talking to probably even evaluating like companies out there in the West, right? Trying to kind of collate what works, what doesn't work, so that user sentiment in some way does come from an investor as well. So I think that's what we had our PCOS program plans that we majorly and heavily concentrated on, right? So we got into community building, ensuring that the stickiness of the product is there, so that people do look at probably coming to the platform every day in the morning, right? Thinking about what is it that they can learn about, their health and wellness today, right? So that's where the stickiness of a product comes in. So we kind of built in and integrated very well with the community aspect of it, which one or two investors brought up. They said, hey, probably this is your holy grail, and you would want to probably concentrate on this and build on this, which we kind of took in very seriously. So one thing that I always did is I did not negate, because each investor comes in with what excites them. So one thing that I was very sure of, I don't want to negate anybody's excitement about the product, because they come from some school of thought. So if some investor came in and said, hey, your community bit attracts me to a lot, right? And I had probably, out of 30 minutes on a conversation, I had spent 20 minutes explaining our PCOS program plan. And after that, he said, you know what, your community really excites me, right? So I was like, hey, and quite credible investors, right? So you would want to hold on to these thoughts and at least experiment that, because you're not too advanced or matured in your journey of building the product, right? So you are allowed to make those experiments and do those experiments right now, which will be extremely difficult to do it at a later stage. So I think, collating your investor requirements, experimenting, do some sort of A/B testing with your users, trying to understand, and then the next time you speak to your user, to an investor, and he says, hey, this is something that really excites me, you have some data to go back to and say, hey, I tried this on these many users and it did not work, right? So you're making more informed decisions in the next call. So yeah.
I think that's very useful, Evelyn, and I really love the whole approach you've taken on the whole community building aspect, because in the space that you're operating in, I think women's wellness, a lot of this gets developed on the community
Right.
backed learning. So that's very useful. Satwik and Akash, anything on the product side?
Absolutely.
Any tips for
So,
founders?
absolutely. I mean, one thing is, for us, it was a big pivot, right? I mean, before 100X versus how we pivoted to what Vitra.AI is. So initially we were called Future API. We had like 30 APIs doing, various things from computer vision to, video translation. And obviously, when we met all the founding members of 100X.VC, they just said, ditch your 29 APIs, keep it to the side, just focus on the video translation. That itself is worth the gold mine, because the market for just that is so huge. Why would you want to do the rest of it? So that is when, I mean, obviously that was the API which excited us the most, but we never thought of ditching our hard work to the side, right? But after the conversations that we had with the 100X team and stuff, the whole pivot happened. I mean, the whole product changed, everything changed. And that gave rise to Vitra.AI. It was a huge pivot, and obviously from an API as a service, an AI API as a service company. So we became Vitra.AI as a product, right? Where you can translate videos and podcasts and a lot of these things. So, I mean, pivot, if you ask me, should be a part of your product. Otherwise, you can never build a picture perfect product on day one, unless you've had a multi-billion-dollar exit and you know what is the right market, what is the right product to do, right? So pivot is something which you should be open for, and that is something which I would say. And obviously, Vitra has been a great pivot, and we've seen a lot of traction from both investors as well as customers. And it's been a fantastic journey, and we've got a lot of learnings. And every investor we've spoken to, and every customer we've spoken to, we've got at least a new idea, a new thought, a new feature improvement, which we can work on that makes the product better. And to everyone that's listening, we've made a lot of these implementations in the product today, and a lot more in the future will be done as well. Thank you so much for
I
all
think
the
I would like to
that's
add
an
this one.
amazing. I wanted to just add, sorry, Akash, please.
I think when you think about pivot, the amount of work that we have put in, like the more the amount of work we put in into the building of product, the tougher it becomes to pivot. So
Exactly.
it's like you feel like, okay, how can I let go of all my hard work? But actually, what we have to think is, it's not that you are carrying the whole product with you; it's the learning that you are carrying it.
Absolutely.
That doesn't go even when you pivot it. So you might have learned a lot of things you while building that, but you will be carrying that. So keep that in mind, and whenever you get the time to pivot, I would say you need to
Yes.
make a call.
No, that's very brilliantly put, Akash and Satvik. I think pivot being the part of the product. That's a very good
Absolutely.
statement. I think every founder should learn it. And I remember the kind of transformation you guys underwent with such speed. I mean, I have yet to see some that kind of speed in like the whole thing, right? From the 30 APIs to that one thing. I think all it happened in what, a month's time. I think
Yeah,
45 days is all it took.
so
And you guys were at it pretty
so
much
it
till
was
the VCP's day.
December 20th, and we launched the new product in Jan 4th.
And
Yeah, like
so
15,
that's
20 days.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, the speed at which you pivoted was amazing, and I really have to congratulate you guys. I think execution there was amazing. So I'd really love to extend this conversation, but I think we are reaching at the end of the session, and maybe next time later we'll share some more of your nuggets. So thank you guys, thank you Satvik, Akash,
Thank you,
and thanks
Agnes.
Evelyn for your
Thank
useful
you.
time.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Thank you.
contributing. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Take care.